So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Very excited to be here alongside other Salesforce consulting partners and existing customer as well. So thank you very much for joining. I'm sure you guys are current customer. You're going to find some stuff interesting in here. The goal of this presentation is to try to share some growth technique that we've applied for the past years. And how we can improve growing our business. The real focus of today is really for Salesforce partner, trying to help them grow their business, so being the PSA of choice. So Dominic, it's a pleasure to join you again in this episode.
As usual, same here.
Good. So we have a full agenda. Today we're trying to pace it a bit more, so we'll see how we go. Still a lot of content to cover. So first, maybe a few. We are in terms of what Klient does. We're putting together all the your department, your teams, all your processes and your methodology. We're bringing all this together for the professional service industry. So this is pretty much the only thing and the sole focus we have is the professional service industry. And most probably, if you are here on the call today, it's because you're within one of those three vertical. So we have consulting firm as customers. So we have a ton of technology firm, engineering firm, management consulting. We have people in actuarials. We have other fields, but consulting firms. So project, invoicing those projects. We have a lot of Salesforce partner, both on the ISV side, so on the software side, but also several consulting partners such as Drakea, but we have several other too. And we're great with SaaS businesses, but specifically the professional service department. So if you're here today, it's pretty much you're fitting in one of those. And we are you. On the right side, Drakea has been in business for the past 4 years. Myself personally, I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for 12. So we are a consulting business on the Drakea side. And on the left side, we have Klient, which is a SaaS. It's a product on the App Exchange. We're a native app. But together, Drakea is the kind of the service branch of Klient. So we share a lot of your pain and challenges. And today, this is pretty much what we want to uncover. It's the challenges linked to growth and how we solve those challenges. The way we're going to be looking at it, we're going to start with 4 key drivers. So the first one is going to be around sales, so proposal and forecasting. After that, we're going to look at project and people and scheduling, cash, third one, and then customer experience. So client name is the client tagline is the customer obsessed. So we should all be obsessed about our customer. And we should also all try to hit our targets. So let's start right now with the first challenge that we see in the market. It's the challenge of creating adequate, accurate estimate and quote to be consistent in those mechanisms. Right, Dominic?
Yes, that's always a challenge. We want to try and remove those famous spreadsheets that everyone's have driving around their desks.
Yeah, spreadsheet is a big tools in the process, but it should probably be removed and it should be streamlined in terms of process and tools. But usually it's because of a lack of structure. The other thing, it's a project plan. So yeah, sales team, yes, we cannot put all the blame on the sales team, but if you don't have visibility and if you're not able to plan properly a kickoff, and if you have to delay a kickoff, that's usually pretty painful for a customer. So you don't want to start a relationship that way. So having realistic project plan, it's quite often a challenge. And selling what we can deliver, right? So if we cannot deliver a specific role or specific project, then no point of selling. So this would be the challenges that we're looking into. And now hitting our target with clients. So the way we want to approach this, it's you want to build on past success. So you want to build on top of templates, on top of successful project when you're going to quote, and you want to do it in a methodological way, a structured way. And you want, most importantly, you want to be able to have your delivery team working with your sales team in that quoting process. Cherry on top, if you can forecast your role for the future. So this way, we're going to see the next step with recruiting and forecasting in terms of resources. But when you can forecast utilization, then a whole new era, another view opens to you. Okay, so oops, move too fast. So let's jump right in the application and client and see how we can solve these problems. Dominic, anything I missed so far?
No, just doing pretty good.
Just let me know, and if I'm moving my mouse too much, you have to tell me too. So
yeah, I'll gladly do that. There's a customer that knows how to do it, that told us in a call recently, and it just drop the mouse. So I'll call it out.
Drop the mouse is the call. Perfect.
Drop the mouse is the call.
Okay, so we've mentioned, and you might have read on the deck, proposal. Proposal is the playing field for sales and delivery. So it's the missing piece when you want to quote a project. So this we can call it project proposal if you want. But at the end game is to, as a consulting business, is to generate a statement of work. And Dominic, I think, is very proud. You can see it with a smile of his new statement of work for Drakia. So this is brand new, Dominic.
Yes, it is. So it required a bit of clarification. We've elaborated, we've built on it, and we provided more information. So that's something we're really proud of. So we've built that with a partner tool, which is FormStack in that case.
And but the underlying information, it's all in proposal and project, correct? Pretty much.
Yes. Everything's
coming from here.
They're all generated from there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all generated directly from proposal using information on related objects.
And the related project. So we're going to take a look into this. But what we want to show here is, first, you want to pitch the project. You want to have a table with your price. Here you can see its roles, but maybe it's specific resource you want to show. You want to pitch your methodology. But most importantly, you want to really secure the customer, and you want to be able to show him what he's going to receive. What is the engagement? So you would put a project plan, your work breakdown structure, and like Dominic was saying, some of our customers requested more information. So now we structure our project, our template project, in a way that we can get all this information within the task, so we can easily generate that kind of document. So this is the document that's going to be generated out of it. But let's look at the content itself. So like I said before, we are in the proposal. The magic piece is here. There's a lookup for a project. So we have that project that's been created, and that's the other part of the magic here on top, the import from project. So what you want to do is you want to build from your past success. So let's say you had a good Sales Cloud implementation, a good Service Cloud implementation, and you're building your methodology, or maybe you already have a methodology in place. You want to really structure that project and create a template out of it, and then import those so you can easily quote it. So that's the purpose of importing.
And it's the business knowledge. Ultimately, we're selling, procedures, and approaches and methodology, as he said, but this is really your business knowledge that you want to keep building on and improving. So the template is very good for that.
Exactly. So let's take a look at, so the project is linked, but what I want to take a look on, it's that client project view here. It's going to load an interface that's going to give me a classic project view. So that's the underlying project that's building my proposal with the rates, the role. As you can see, it's a standard Gantt that we have with the work breakdown structure on the left, and on the right, the schedule. We surely want to use some milestone to track key points during the engagement. The beauty of a template is that, let's say, you can usually put more in a template, and then you just go in and delete some of those tasks. But if you need to add task manually because there's a specific engagement, like for example, in this scenario, we could think maybe that we want to add some admin training and end user training. You can just press the plus button or add a task. So really the idea is to be able to manipulate your project and add hours to it at the end. So that's a great tool to look into. And another view that's really interesting, and actually this was built from a request from our customer. So it's purely an idea that customer had that we implemented for them. And actually now it's one of the most popular interface we have. So it's the assignment UI. So it's another kind of view. We still have the work breakdown structure on the left, but you can see here on the right, we have resources roles. So we have roles, and the P in parentheses mean a placeholder. So when you start dealing with project pipeline, so you're starting to create your project before you sold them. And then when you start assigning project placeholders to your project and your task, now you can really start building that model of utilization that you're going to be able to forecast on. Okay. So just so I can finish on that UI. So for example, in that specific case, we would come in, expand the training side and maybe add 8 hours on each. So that's a great and easy way as well to just come in and do some real-time edit on your project. And then the key is that when you come back to your proposal, you just need to hit the refresh button, and then you're going to get all that new information back.
The interesting bit is that now we've seen a lot of time, but we could have also milestone with milestone payments, and we can have a mix and all done through that interface. So you could build fixed fees as on top of even billable and time and expense. So there's a mix that is possible.
So exactly, and that the key is the flexibility, as we will see. It's to be able to adapt your business on different use cases, as Dominic just mentioned. Okay, I think we've covered everything, Dominic, here.
Yes.
Let's move on. Project and resourcing. So this is usually the reason why people are moving to a PSA. They don't have visibility anymore. So assigning resource for a consulting firm, it's fine when you're 3. It's getting a bit more complex at 10. At 50, you get a problem if you don't have a good tool. So depending on where you stand and where you at, you're gonna have a different landscape. But at the end, it's very difficult to know more than 2 weeks in advance when you don't have a good system of who's doing what and who can do what. So this is a very big challenge for pretty much all our customers. The other one, which is a very actuality, it's recruiting. So it's very tough to recruit. So on both company, we've been hiring, but we could have hired faster if we'd have found a good candidates. This being said, I think we have there's a way to approach this, and you want to even more so that when a ton of competition in recruiting, you want to be able to really pitch the value. So being able to track your candidates and be able to structure that recruiting effort is key. And the other big point is new on board. After you recruit them, you need them to be billable as fast as you can, right? We're a service business. If you don't invoice your project, if you don't bill your project, not doing that well. So
yeah, cost without billings, it's it changes the margins a bit.
Success. Yeah. So I've already mentioned a couple of things here, but let's look at the brightest way and the good way of doing it. And there's a lot of things that we're talking today that could be applied even if you're not using our tools. So there's a lot of concept of best practices. So how we can be better? For sure, it goes better with Klient, but those are best practices that you should probably apply. So we're going to look at the resource planner. So this is going to give us a visibility of it. But after that, it's really the structure of an onboarding plan for new employees that we're going to take a look into. This will guarantee a faster ramp up and a faster ramp up, I would say is the best word. Okay. And we have a lesser known feature in Klient in terms of candidate portal. This is Drake has requested an upgrade on it lately. So we wanted to showcase a little bit of that side of the application too.
Yeah, we're still customer of Klient too. So.
True. So let's move back in. First thing we're going to look into, I'm going to go in a resource planner. So the resource planner, it's the global view of your resources and the work they are involved in. Here I have a subset of people I'm looking. I have a few placeholders, as you can see, for engagement lead, a solution admin, and a trainer. And the color code here mean that red, you're overbooked. Green, you're in your sweet spot. And orange, you need more work to be assigned to you. Okay, so there's a lot of color. We can see that we kind of have a LT. There's a couple of situations that we should look for December. For the rest, I think we're looking like we have too much work on our end. So recruiting might be something we want to look into. I mentioned in my proposal before, we're talking about trainer. So let's look at that specific role. So with the filter, that guys we are currently improving for our current customer. This was voted one of the most interesting idea in our community. So we're improving those filter lists. But for now, let's just apply a simple filter to see the placeholder trainer and Julia or only trainer. So here what we can see is that, yeah, she's overbooked in November, fully booked pretty much in the next 3 months after that, and that she has a little bit of opening here. Dominic, how would you read that if I expand this?
Yeah, that's kind of the segue from what we talked earlier, that the connection between sales and eventually delivery. What we see up top are the placeholders of projects that are yet to be assigned or that are in the pipeline. So we see now that there's a trainer work eventually to maybe one in October, but I also see that in February, January, we have some work upcoming. So that'd be a way to forecast. That's only a pipeline project, but if there's likelihood of closing, that's indicative that we might need further hands in there, or help or reshuffle maybe the existing projects.
That's one way of looking at it. This one requires eye investigation. I would say you need to play around with the data a little bit to really see what's happening. We have other dashboard that can just show you when you have lack of resources or over resources. So just for the demo, this one is a better UI. Okay, but let's say we have decided that, okay, clearly Julia she won't be able to support more mandates. So we should hire more resources. So one, like we mentioned just before, for Drakia, we re-enable, it was already there, but we re-enable the employee or the candidate portal. Okay, so the idea is to really, a client is to be the one-stop shop, so you can run your entire business on the Salesforce platform. We definitely use LinkedIn and other tools to recruit. We have other tools, but you want a streamlined way of structuring your candidate and your future talent that you will have in-house, so to be able to qualify them, but also to be able to compare one another. And you want to facilitate the way of creating those reports. So we have that portal here that's based on force.com. So they can just, for example, we have an engagement lead role open, you have a job post here, and then you can just apply for this job. This will create a candidate. So then you can track and you can follow. I think there's other thing, right, Dominic, that are.
Yeah, if I may add to that, is that this is part of the resourcing process, where you could, even from a resourcing when trying to staff a project from a placeholder, go into that cycle of, I don't have a resource, I'm doing a resource request, and eventually that resource request may be internally, we don't have that, and then we could go to job posting and send that on the web. So it's a way of getting new employees, even contractors eventually. That's a way of getting outsourced or external resource to hop on a project. And it's all in Salesforce, it's all in Client, and we can have a good visibility on all that.
That's the idea. So besides just selling the feature here, it's the fact that everybody should have kind of an applicant tracking system. If you don't have one, Client can help you out, and then we can easily interconnect with other stuff. So we have a prospect yesterday that worked, or a new customer, I should say, that was mentioning that he wanted to connect with his bigger application tracking system that he already had with his bigger company. So we can interact and interconnect those things. Okay, so so from that thing, we're going to
the onboard, yeah,
onboarding project, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's look at that concept. So you have a project management tool. You want to use it in every aspect of your life. You don't want of your business. You don't want to just do customer project. You also want to do internal project, and onboarding project are a great one to start with. So onboarding project, if we just go again, if we open up the list, the project Gantt or project view, I'm going to switch just to the grid view, so I can only see the things that are involved in this specific project. So this is pretty much the one that we have at Drakia. So at Drakia, we have a streamlined recruiting process, but when we sign, we like to take care of you. So now we have new goodies, Dominic, and I do have a nice cup, and we also want to share with you guys. But we send a care package. We send a care package to our new hire. Within, there's a video that they should watch, and we're sending them as well the credentials a few days before. So usually there's a month in between. So we add case that people decided to cancel just before. So to make sure that we retain them, entertain them, that's one of the reasons we're sending that care package. So you see, we have this that we're asking. All those steps are already defined. So, but most importantly, beside the care package, is what's going to be involved in the learning of that resource. So, for example, for us, they watch a client success series. It turns out, Dominic, that you're a good teacher. A lot of people are watching that success series to understand how to run the business. So it was last year, it was a success. They go through the client trails or trailhead, and then they shadow. So we can see that we have a breakdown. They log their time against those projects, so we can track, so we can also estimate. And the beauty of it, like always, is that we improve that template from time to time, so people can go in and improve it.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, structure is good for the customer, toward customer. It should be good for internal endeavors. And then the other option, the other thing also is that we can have an internal project to prep internally for that new employee to onboard. So everything that is IT, laptops, and all that we need to do, all the credentials,
or sending that care package,
or
and
sending
recording the video before you send the care package.
Yeah, so it's just don't drop one. You want to care for those scarce resource, making sure that you're ready from day one for them to have an enjoyable experience. So structuring your project for onboarding, very interesting aspect to consider.
And then it's very easy. As soon as you have a new employee, you just create a project from a template and just modify the dates, and that's it. Good to go. Okay. Okay. Now after that, okay, this is the onboarding template. This is kind of the more the configuration view, but I might want to also look into it in terms of that new hire, so that new trainer maybe, or that new person. So let me just filter out my demo user.
Now we're just looking as if we were logging as that user. They have a new onboarding project, and now we're seeing my work for them, what it would look like.
Yeah, my work for Rachel Green. So our new hire, we've dispatched that project template that we've looked at. We've created one for her. We've dispatched her task, so she can see what is overdue, what she can do today. We're Friday, so there's nothing less for the rest of the week, and what she's going to be studying or doing next week. So let's say the Watch Client Success Series, and when she's done, she can easily complete those tasks. If you look here, that you see there's a task checklist icon. So when I click on the let's close this here. When I click on it here, it's gonna open up the panel. We can have description. So that's another way. So I didn't mention it before, but the statement of work that you saw that was generated came from task. Although the description came from task, from the description field of the task. So this is where you can easily maintain what needs to be done. And on top, you have a list of checklists that you can do. So for example, in our case, she's gonna need to do Quip stuff, log into Salesforce, log into create a user in Slack, and that mentioned. So, and then she can again just complete her task one by one. So everybody's on track, and she get that knowledge and internal knowledge that your company and your consulting business has.
Hey, if I may just complete, because you've talked about the descriptions, it's a good way of getting that information of what you expect. But as Yannick said, as far as the statement of work, that's also stuff that we can improve, so that we can convey the scope and what we consider doing in those tasks, both to the customer, but also internally. So sales kind of sends the information. We all work with the same thing, having the description, so that delivery can work on that and have clarity over what's the deliverable.
Yeah, and then in case of a candidate or a new talent that you hire, then it's really showing them the way that you want them to work or things to be done. So more kind of a recipe to follow. Okay, the whole goal is to help them succeed, right? A lot of we didn't talk about it a lot. I think we're done on that section of it, but a lot of thing is that we hire people, but then they're left alone for 3 months trying to figure things by themselves. So if you don't have a structure, and it takes so much time finding a resource, you don't want to lose it within the first 3 months. So making sure that you have a good onboarding process and plan is key.
And why not use the same approach to onboard those employees, so that they learn how you'd want them to drive the project? So even the process is part of the learning, as far as how you drive your projects is going to show them how you expect them to react.
Like the we are you thing, like the inception and
inception,
the dream and the dream and the dream. It happens often for us. Okay, now let's look at if there's any CFO on the call. This is where you want to be awake. We have a few accounting people. Revenue and invoicing, cash. The challenges. Cash is always a challenge, not just for consulting business, but for us, the key thing is quite often hours are not accounted for. They're falling through the cracks. your resource might be shy to bill. They're not sure if the prep of a meeting is billable or not. So there's a lot of that. So there's revenue leakage, and you don't want to leak any revenue. It's tough enough to get new mandates, contract. You want to make sure that every hours you work, you invoice them. And if there's some credit to be done, that the system allows you to easily give credit to, but still you don't want any revenue leakage. The other thing, Dominic, you kind of mentioned it a bit before when you were talking about milestone, time and expense. If the system that you're using is limiting you to experiment with new model, let's say you've been doing fixed fee and now you're wondering if you're making any margin, and you want a PSA to track it, but you're also tempted to maybe try some time and expense project or vice versa. You want to be able to just try one project and the system to support it without having to call IT or following it in an Excel sheet. So that is key, and it's problematic for a lot of our the prospect that we're talking to, and not enough cash for growth. So cash is one of the biggest factor that is needed for a service business. If you don't have cash, you won't be able to pay your resources. Without resources, you're not able to invoice. So and then the underlying problem of that is pretty much usually it's the time to collection. So the endless end of month process. We have customer, and I think they are in the room, that started with a 40-something day kind of end of month procedure, made it with the first pass under 5 days, and now I'm curious, but I think lately it was around 1. So that end of month will ensure that the collection is coming earlier in the process. So it's key. So I've mentioned a couple of the way of doing it, but again, it's a timesheet. I've been a big promoter of doing daily timesheet.
It's fun doing daily timesheet.
With some success, but some failure too. But at least people now are seeing the value. I don't think it's fair for anybody, for a consultant not logging his time every day, because it's not fair for the end customer. It's not fair for the business. It's difficult at the end of a Friday, or even worse, at the end of the month, to remember what you did on the 8th of the month. So for me, it's and creating that process and that way of working that make it easy to do. This is what you want to be looking into. Billing model, we've talked about it, so we're being able to update stuff. And one of the key thing, we're not an accounting platform, so but one of the key thing is that you want to be able to generate invoice, or bring accounting and delivery closer together. So we're tracking both the invoices that are generating within that PSA. But when this is done, you want to easily post those in your accounting platform. So you will see clients come with several connectors that we can look into. Okay, doing pretty good on time, Dominic. So don't hesitate to ask more questions.
I'm serving the I'm looking at the Q&A. So if any one of you have any questions, we probably will have time to get a few of those answered, either live or after.
Okay, so invoicing. There's a different way to look at it, but I think the way that we want to look at it is really to promote is a better word.
It's more
promote the end of month invoicing procedure, or whatever frequency invoicing procedure. But the point is that you should be looking at dashboards when you're doing stuff. This doesn't only for accounting, it's for everyone. But for in the invoicing side, before invoicing, you should look at the status and the stage or with what you're into. So I mentioned CFO people before. So for example, here we see that we have on the left side, we have uninvoiced milestone for $156,000. That's a lot. Uninvoiced project billing for $79K. Depending on where we stand in the month, and it might be a normal number, but you want to be aware that there's things left in the system that needs to be invoiced. Right? So this is usually key that, okay, now definitely we need to account in. And then on the right side, approval and accountability and responsibility is very important, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's again, we're keep hitting on that nail, but the process and the recipe is very important. And then for those, you want to make sure before you go into your generation of invoices that everything's ready for that, so that you don't need to go back and then modify and re-update invoices. So the timesheets, the expenses, anything that needs to be approved, you want to do that, weekly as it goes. Timesheet daily, approval weekly, and then making sure that you have that whenever you're ready to invoice. But then you have track before you go in there, you make sure that everything was done, so you can work in better collaboration with delivery too and the rest of the team to make sure that we get faster to cash.
And as I mentioned, accountability is important. So one way to action those things is there's chatter right there. So just mention people, hey, where's your timesheet? Please submit your timesheet. End of month, we know we want to close the last day of the month. Everybody should be submitting all their timesheets so we can start first thing in the morning of the first generating an invoice. So again, actioning those things is important. So dashboard can be actionable too. So, and to move to what we're saying about flexibility, let's move to generating an invoice. Okay, let's say this has been done. The list of pending stuff and approval has been clear. We're ready to invoice that period. Let's go with generating invoicing. And what I want to show you here is just the fact that you can mix and match different invoicing model, billing type. So this way you can really try stuff. When you're a growing business, you want to be able to experiment with maybe selling a small subset of a product that you can call a package across a time and expense model, or you want to maybe try a fixed fee model but still report on hours. So that system gives you the flexibility. And as you can see here, we have several invoices, or a lot of data that are ready to be invoices, right?
Across all projects, everything that is approved or in a state where we can invoice it is grabbed by the system for the period we selected. That's
because
why
it's approved. And now you can also see the difference if you want to look with not approved. And as you can see here, we can have a mix of fixed, time, and expense. And then within how this is driven, like a lot of our time and expense are driven by a rate cards or role and rates or resource and rates. You can have a recurring billing. You can get, so there's different billing type that's going to feed on top those three models. And we also have other possibility when you want to do something very custom in terms of your invoicing. Okay. So the idea just here is just don't let the system stop you from being creative and evolving your business. Okay, and one way to structure again is the unpaid invoice. Cash is king, so collection, making those invoices visible to your delivery people, your project management could be a good idea. For example, we've been talking about deep dive tech. We're closing a project with them, training them, maybe hiring even a trainer for them. But now we see in the system that they have like all those pending invoices. So that's a lot of money. So maybe before we do all that, we're gonna interact with them. And the other interesting thing here, and to streamline your business, if you have one of the accounting platform that we have a connector for, the idea of streamlining your process, when you move to a status of posted, for example, it would send automatically your invoice to QuickBooks or Xero or Sage Intacct or Accounting Seat. So this way you don't have to rekey any information. You're sure there's no discrepancy between the two. Because you did some approval on timesheet, you maybe have validated all the timesheet notes, because those notes will end up on the invoicing themselves. So, and then in QuickBooks, and then you decide, do you want to do your collection on the other side or in Client? You can do both. One or
if I may add on that, as we might have a few minutes, again, the team and the whole visibility, obviously that could be exposed on the account, so that sales, whenever they do that, as Yannick mentioned, we want to make sure that when we get into this, we have that visibility on what's pending, what's the status, how are we doing, are they good customer as far as paying, or we need to take that into account when we get into a new opportunity. So really that visibility across the board is very interesting.
We would be a lot longer and we would cut some content, but yeah, we could have easily put the account page in here in our demo script and just show all the related project, invoice, project assignments, all issue risk, another topic that we haven't talked of.
Yeah, see episode 3.
There you go. Okay. Anything else on this? I think we're done, Dominic.
I think we're pretty good now. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Next thing, customer experience. This is exciting. It's tough. We're blessed. We have a great customer at Klient and Drakia, and so far it's been I shouldn't say easy, but it's been great. We have been having really good reference, and it's been easy to get reference from our customer base for new prospects. So we're very happy, and we are trying to take good care of our customer. But this is always a challenge to have referenceable customer. And quite often we assume that our customer are happy. Maybe the read of our project manager could be off, and he's the only one talking to the customer. So you wanna be a bit more aware of what your customer is really thinking of. One of the reasons that you might not be happy, it's a lack of visibility. If he doesn't know what our team, the consulting team, is working on, if he doesn't see his budget, and he gets surprised at end of each month with invoices because he doesn't receive his project statuses, that's usually a big pain, right, Dominic? I think this it's always about cash.
It's always about cash. Having the conversation as early as possible, so they're a bit easier then.
There's even a better trick. Avoid those conversations by showing the data all the time. If you're always talking about budget through your budget status, if you're exposing your project and the status of every task, and this is what we're trying to preach and do, usually the transparency makes it that it's very difficult to argue at the end of the month. So if you address all this upfront, and let's just talk the other one before. So this is interesting because this is a feedback I received on LinkedIn from an existing customer that was saying that the tools is great for his operation, but he was also now using it in sales because it showed how structured they were in managing their project. So having your customer having confidence in you is difficult and it's tricky. So you should take all the tricks possible. And this is where Klient come into play, that we can help you give more exposure of your project to your customer and have you shine when you're showing your project during engagement because you're on top of everything, but also during pre-sales when you're building that amazing statement of work like Dominic showed us. And the fact that you can show their Gantt, you can assign them homework. This is really how you get that collaboration and that engagement within the project.
The inception again.
And on the customer ambassador side, this is what we're going to be looking into. So trying to get their feedback more often. We're going to share what we've done so far. You like that one, Dominic? I like that.
It's like it's a dreamy one.
Oh, sorry, not that yet. Okay, the demo part, we're going to look at surveys. Okay, so survey, let me hit the configure survey page. So we have a client as their own client survey object process. The concept is that within a project or even for an existing account, you want to get feedbacks. It could be for some customer, for some employee, like we're saying here. This is the list of the survey that are existing within the system, or it could be for candidate, even if you want to probe their value. So the idea is to find a way to get feedback from your employee, from your customer, and even from your candidate. So Dominic, project closure, is that what we want to look into?
Let's say that's just as an example, project closure again, to get that business knowledge. You want to know what the customer knows. Probably I would suggest that you do that prior to your project closure, so that you know what they have in mind, and then you can wrap this up with them. But an example here.
What, Dominic, is that project you have planned your project closure with customer, you would send that survey prior.
Yeah,
I think address the issue after, right?
Yeah, it might be an idea, so you can contextualize that survey then into your project closure meeting with the customer. But here's just an example, so that you'd like to know, how likely are you to recommend, so that NPS questions. What did we do well? What should we do better? How could we improve? So all those type of questions. And if you hit on add new questions, you'll see that there's different types of questions that we can do for that. So there's a lot of flexibility. Radio button selections, open text. So really quite a lot of enough flexibility to get what you need.
I guess there's a couple of things here. Sending survey is great, but we should do project closure all the time, right? Also,
exactly. That's part of wrapping up and having the lessons learned and building that knowledge back into our project template again. So yeah, that's something that we need to do each and every time. So that we learn from our past experience.
That's one is tough because the project is over. You just want to move to the next one. So again, having that structure and that methodology in place to make sure that this happens, because doing a project closure with your customer, validating his interest or his feedback like this is very important. But then, like you said, the internal project closure with all the lessons learned that will feed back is as well as important. And you need a repository to store all that knowledge. So, but yeah, it's tough to put in place, but this one should be.
And having it on the project template, having it on the projects that you expose it to the customer each and every time that you show the Gantt chart to the customer, then it's kind of easy. I'd say you kind of make it in so that customer know it's upcoming, and that's something that we want to do. And
okay, so just to finish up on that feature, so the idea is that because I want to talk about the scheduling of it, but the idea is that that survey is being sent by email, and then it's again it's a site for site that is going to serve it, so you can run the email of it. Then it's a question of when do you send this? Okay, so you can send it manually. So there's a button on the project on the account as well, I believe, and the idea is to just send that survey out manually. So let's say you're unsure if your engagement lead as a delivery manager, you're unsure if your delivery manager did a good job, or maybe he's new and you want to see his progress, or maybe he's shine and you want to boost his feeling. You want to send a survey at that time, right? We don't want to just mistakes, and we want to catch good things so you can re-empower your team. So yes, it's good to look at bad result, but you should also use the good result in your all ends meetings. But talking about sending it, so the button manually if you need, but also you can schedule it. So after kickoff, at the closure, after a specific milestone or step. So the idea is that a client has a powerful scheduler. So if you can pretty much define whatever you want on the object with an and or condition on pretty much all the fields that you can maintain. And we even have an API. So if you want to do your own stuff on Flow and just call it for sending survey, you can do it too. The end goal, and I don't think we have that window, the results of all this, right? So the idea is to really view those results and those ratings so you can act on it. So we're more talking about the purpose of sending those and showing you the different type than the result itself.
And just to wrap on this, as far as internal process, this is something that we're doing weekly in meetings. So leadership meetings, we would look at the results we have. It's not easy to get those results. That's another topic that we cover. And eventually it starts, what's the best way of doing it? But looking at that dashboard weekly so that we keep that on top of things, that's another thing that we should include in our process.
So we do a weekly employee satisfaction survey at Drakia. At some point, we decided to do monthly, and it's the employee that told us that they wanted back at weekly. So this, I found it great when you had that feedback. I think now we're sending weekly project satisfaction survey. I think our customers, those guys would prefer if we're sending it monthly. But this being said, for me, it's giving the potential to our customer to express themselves. So maybe they won't answer all the time. I'm hoping we're not spam. And that they didn't block us, but the idea is that they know that they can express themselves, and there's something they want us to tell us, we're going to hear it and we're going to act on it.
And then on that topic, if you'd like to share in the community and say, what are you doing with, are you using the surveys and what works and what didn't work towards your customer, please do. So that's an interesting discussion. We're trying to find the right balance. And if you want to share in the community on that, that'd be an interesting discussion.
All right. Okay. So just a quick recap in terms of feature, and then we're gonna get into the Salesforce partner special. On the sales side, forecasting accurately and really working sales and delivery working together with proposal, which is the kind of the missing link with the link project. Then in terms of increasing your profit margin, if you just ramp up one month earlier your resource, and if they get 10% more billable faster every week or every month, you're going to definitely help on that front. There's other way we can look at improving profit margin, but that's clearly one interesting one that we'll look into today. Cash, having the cash in the bank sooner, and the customer experience. So I hope that you like that insight. The goal was really to give kind of the challenges, guidance, best practice, hoping that's going to help in your businesses. For the prospect customer, so the one that don't knows us very well, we are a native Salesforce app. So we reside solely in Salesforce. So with everything that it means, security, and we play very well with all clouds of Salesforce. So Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, we just really complete the loop with the operation side of thing or the delivery side of things, so we can really make it as your business can run on one platform, on the Salesforce platform. So one of our pitch was a Salesforce consulting partner. Are you running your entire business on Salesforce? Are you a good role model? We're trying to be. We're pretty much buying every Salesforce tools there is. Quip and Slack is our newest favorite, and I would recommend our Salesforce consulting partner to give a try as well for clients. So clients should be your system of operation for your business, should be your PSA. So that's the pitch we're trying to make today. In terms of modules, we run the entire business. I won't get into details. There's a ton of functionality as well that we can look together if you're interested. But I want to talk about a new offer that we have for onboarding and how you can get ramped up on that platform. So far we've looked at features, functionality, benefit, challenge. Now, how do you get to be able to be efficient? So there's two ways. Classic, right? Salesforce consulting partners are great. So if you want to work with a Salesforce consulting partner, Drakeo would be happy to work with you. You get that trusted advisor that's going to help you out during that project. And now we're just launching a new university, a client university. So if you want to do it by yourself, we're going to give you the tools, and we're going to show you how you can onboard your team. So we have those two offering in details. It's really the foundation, right? Drakeo is only doing consulting firm. I think it's more than 20% of our customer base that are Salesforce partner. So Drakeo is very aware of all the use cases involved in this. So you can let Drakeo be your trusted advisor. And yes, we've modified the last line. Yes, we've modified our offer for Salesforce partner. They always say, yeah, but we know Salesforce. We know how to do it. Yes. So we have adapted a little bit the offer. There's still a lot to be done, but this is what can be done on the onboarding side. And for the university, it's a 5-day class, and across 2 weeks you have access to our trailhead. So we have client trails. So you have access to this. Everybody got access to this, but that's a great way to learning the platform. And you have access to office hours, and as well as chatting with our customer on the community and asking questions. If you want to talk to us, please reach to LinkedIn. You can always go the traditional route with booking a demo on our websites or reaching out by email. But I would prefer if you reach out by LinkedIn or via Slack. So don't hesitate to myself and Dominic.